winds and bone-dry air fueling deadly wildfires across France and Spain this morning. The widespread blazes forcing more than 300,000 in southwestern Europe out of their homes as firefighters battle the advancing flames. Spain declaring a national emergency as authorities say a 78-year-old man was found dead in the Valencia region, the country's first fire casualty. Fires scorching popular tourist destinations throughout the region, plumes of smoke looming over the edge of cities, destroying homes in its path. Near Madrid, the security camera capturing the moment a home is engulfed by flames. And in France, authorities going door to door in the Gironde region, urging residents to evacuate, pleading with vacationers to keep their distance. Firefighters supported by farmers, seen here on the road to Gironde to help in the battle. Huge flames as the wildfires in the region burn more than 100,000 acres, an area 4 times the size of Paris. And in Bordeaux, the heart of France's famed wine country and a tourist hotspot, cleared out by the approaching flames.
It escalated pretty quickly.
Americans Brendan and Tammy Hutchinson, who live there year-round, among the thousands ordered to get out.
You could see the wind shift, and it really got thick smoke, and there was a lot of ash falling out of the sky.
And the region had a very wet winter and also a spring, so there's a lot of vegetation, dry vegetation now. And also Western Europe had its hottest June on record. So Robin, a kind of perfect storm for these fires to start and then move rapidly across the terrain, and the temperatures are expected to rise again this week.
Yeah, Europe is getting hit hard.
Today, every time the mayor speaks, we need the police to protect us. It was meant to be a day to commemorate the tragedies that have befallen the Jewish people throughout our history. But when a member of our community was stabbed on his way out of the synagogue, the evil we gathered to remember stopped belonging to the past. Suddenly, it was right here in the present. When public officials repeatedly cast the Jewish community as a stand-in for actions of the Israeli government to create a climate in which Jews become targets. You know, when I was growing up, the only time we saw security outside of my synagogue or outside of my Jewish day school was when the mayor came to speak. The police were there to protect him. Today, every time the mayor speaks, we need the police to protect us. Jewish life in America is starting to feel like Jewish life in Europe. Armed guards, bulletproof glass, and the constant fear that yesterday's rhetoric will turn into today's assault. So many people know Moshe, so many people care about him. He was just trying to pray at his synagogue. And now we're the ones praying for his recovery. To have been stabbed 200 feet from the Jewish center evokes all the worst images of the Jewish past. If a Jew can't feel safe walking home from shul in broad daylight on a Thursday afternoon on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, then something has gone profoundly wrong, not only for the Jewish community, but for our city. I want to thank Micah for calling right away to offer his support. I want to thank Jessica Tisch and the NYPD for their swift response. And I want to thank all the communal leaders who have come together today. We may not share the same religion, but we share the same faith. Faith in the dignity of every human being, and faith that together we can help rebuild this great city and make it safe for every New Yorker once again.
I would say first and foremost is there's no tolerance for anti-Semitism in this city. We have to root out anti-Semitism from across the 5 boroughs, and that's because this is a city that is one that has no room for hate or bigotry of any kind. And when we make criticisms of a nation state or policies, we have to remember that those are criticisms of exactly that. Never of a people, never of a faith. I think when it comes to the horrific stabbings on the Upper West Side, my thoughts first and foremost are with both the Asian New Yorker and the Jewish New Yorker who were stabbed. I'm thankful that they are in a stable condition, and I'm wishing them a full and speedy recovery. And I'm also thankful to the NYPD for their quick and swift response to both apprehending the alleged perpetrator, Raul Morales, and now I've seen the charges that have been levied against him of attempted murder and a hate crime, and I'm hopeful that he will be prosecuted for the full extent of the law. I would say
a bit over the weekend with a pause in strikes since Friday, but Iran accuses Ukraine of attacking an Iranian vessel and killing a sailor. So let's go live to Scripps News Group Chief Washington Correspondent Joe St. George. And Joe, why did Ukraine strike this vessel, and could this widen the conflict?
We don't often talk about the Ukraine conflict and the Iran conflict in the same breath, in the same story. Oftentimes we're talking about them differently, but you're right. They do. This does have the possibility of being on a collision course, colliding with one another, given the events of this weekend. It was a relatively quiet weekend between the U.S. and Iran, a pause in fighting after nearly 2 weeks of intense strikes. But now there is a chance of this widening with what Iran has said. Abbas Araghchi, Iran's foreign minister, posting on X, accusing President Zelensky of striking an Iranian commercial vessel, killing a sailor, saying that this must not go unanswered. Zelensky not denying that there was Ukraine military action involving Iran in the Caspian Sea in his social media posts. You may be wondering the why here. Iran, Russia, long talked about for having connections, sharing information. Iran technology perhaps helping Iran Iran technology helping Russia fight its war with Ukraine, and vice versa, with Russia potentially sharing information to help Iran. You put this all together, and Tony, it raises big questions as to where we're going this week. Again, a pause in fighting between the U.S. and Iran, but still plenty of developments in the Middle East.
Other developments, President Donald Trump posted an AI-generated photo on Truth Social depicting a strike on Karg Island. Is there anything noteworthy behind this?
Well, he's always busy on social, but yesterday it was one AI fake image after another. We can share with you the one from Karg Island of clearly a fake image showing the U.S. military bombing it. This is noteworthy because Karg Island has long been talked about, certainly for those in the energy world. I mean, this is the island, the place where oil in Iran typically flows through, and any type of military strike there would potentially set back the infrastructure and energy infrastructure in Iran for years and years, having a potential massive implications on the global market supply. Again, a fork in the road moment, it seems, right? Officially over the weekend, it was quiet. No strikes. Diplomacy. But then you had the president on social media showing images like this. Where will this week take us? We'll be following on the developments every step of the way.
This morning, a summer of wild weather heating up, with some states in the south seeing storms and flooding this weekend, even a water spout off the coast of Florida. From coast to coast, much of the country feeling scorched. 115 million Americans under heat alerts this morning, and dozens of cities setting record highs over the weekend.
Let's go see a movie. Don't be out in it.
Those sky-high temps even throwing a wrench into summer travel. At Harry Reid International Airport in Las Vegas, where weekend highs hit 114 degrees, at least one airline asking passengers to give up their seats. The steaming hot air proving too thin for engines to take off with a full passenger load. In Scottsdale, first responders flooded with heat-related emergency calls. Here he comes. While zoos in multiple states adjusting hours or temporarily closing to keep animals and visitors safe. The blistering temps fueling raging wildfires in Oregon. Some authorities say sparked by lightning during recent storms. This as dangerous blazes race across Europe too, with wildfires torching homes in Spain and forcing people off popular beaches in Italy. Flames also racing toward France's iconic Bordeaux wine region. So far, nearly 250,000 forced to evacuate. Back in the U.S., millions struggling to stay cool again today, as this summer scorcher shows no signs of slowing. And again, we're talking a lot about the heat, but here in the Midwest, the humidity has been a real factor, reaching near record levels yesterday in St. Louis, with the heat index there topping out around 120. Hallie.
Just brutal. Maggie Vespa, thank you. All right, let's bring in Al for more. Al, good morning to you.
Hey, good morning, guys, and good Monday morning to you all. We are talking about everything but the kitchen sink. We've got heavy showers and thunderstorms starting to fire up now in the Midwest, where we see a risk of severe weather. both back through the plains, from Rapid City to Colby, also in the Midwest, Chicago under the gun, Detroit, Cincinnati, 53 million people at risk. Can't rule out a tornado. Then tomorrow, it takes aim at the Northeast, the Mid-Atlantic states, where we've got 34 million people at risk, and we could be looking at an area where we're seeing set up, could see up to 5 inches of rain back through western PA into New England. We're going to be watching this very closely. There could be some flash flooding during the next 72 hours. Now, the heat warning, 115 million people at risk from Florida all the way back into the Southwest. Records possible from El Centro, California, Grand Forks down to Gainesville. We're talking about temperatures, as Maggie talked about, the jet stream up to the north, hot and humid conditions. Look at these heat indexes today. St. Louis, 109, 99 in Atlanta, 108 in Jacksonville, Wichita. It's going to feel like 109. Tomorrow, more of the same. We're going to be looking at the high heat air temperatures, triple digits, but those heat indexes bring it into the 1-teens. And then as you look through the next few days, you can see air temperatures are going to stay near triple-digit temperatures in New Orleans, Jacksonville, Memphis. Factor in that heat index right on into Friday, and we are talking about it feel like those triple digits into the triple teens. So very dangerous conditions. Allie?
That's for sure. Al, thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching. And don't forget,
food vendor live streaming from a Seattle food festival captured the moment gunshots rang out.
Viral video, and 200K. I'll get that plaque that says shooting. Oh, right here. Get down. Yeah, just get down. Oh, it's right there. Oh.
Another video shows people appearing to shelter inside a gift shop at Seattle's iconic Space Needle, about a block from the festival. Dispatch audio captured first responders responding to the shooting.
Suspect may have an automatic weapon. Rapid fire. Anyone have a small child tourniquet size? Go ahead, tourniquet? For a small child. Small child arm tourniquet.
A food vendor live streaming from a Seattle food
tonight after nearly 2 weeks of aggressive attacks in Iran. Both the United States and Iran appear to be standing down, while top White House officials say they want to try to get negotiations back up and running. There are also reports the United States is fearful of a diminishing supply of weapons. Here's national correspondent Christine Frizzell.
At the end of a week marked by tragedy and 13 nights in a row of the dropping of bombs and missiles, a pause for now in the plan to launch new attacks, with so far 2 nights of quiet from both the United States and Iran. Israel's prime minister asked what it would take to end the war for good.
I think when this regime is either toppled or it's sufficiently weakened that it knows it has to end its nuclear program and has to change its course. That's really what President Trump is trying to achieve.
There are multiple news reports that in addition to concerns over mass casualties, the halt in attacks is also directly connected to concerns the United States munition stockpile is dwindling.
No,
Do you acknowledge they're depleted, at this moment?
I want to be crystal clear. The U.S. military, and I've verified this every which way, has everything that it needs to conduct this campaign as effectively as it needs to be. And I have to tell you, the people that are leaking this nonsense deserve to be in jail.
One side of progress, reports that talks between Iran and Oman on reopening the Strait of Hormuz have been progressing. But shipping traffic in the region remains at a near standstill, and another vital shipping waterway is now under threat, following strikes on 2 Saudi oil tankers in the Red Sea carried out by the Iranian-backed Houthi rebels.
Donald Trump said, "We won this war." We won. Those were his words back in March. And so the question is, now we're in July. Why are Americans still getting killed? Why is the Strait of Hormuz still closed?
And now, new concerns about Iran's nuclear ambitions, the major justification for the start of the war, in which its leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, was killed by U.S. and Israeli strikes. The former leader believed to be opposed to developing a nuclear weapon. But the New York Times reports American intelligence agencies believe his son and successor, Ayatollah Mojtaba Khamenei, is far more interested in pursuing a nuclear weapon. Looking ahead, President Trump has a meeting scheduled scheduled for this Tuesday with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He is one of the few world leaders who has supported more aggressive action in Iran, while other world leaders have pushed for de-escalation. I'm Christine Frizzell reporting.
The Pentagon facing new questions over how it is reporting casualties in Iran follows the death of those 4 U.S. service members. The Pentagon website appearing to remove them from the total number of deaths in Operation Epic Fury. The Pentagon calls it a data disruption. Scripps News senior White House correspondent Haley Bull is live on the North Lawn. And Haley, does the Pentagon have an explanation for why it made the change?
The Pentagon is pointing to a data disruption for this site errors. Its website tracking casualties showed 14 total deaths in Operation Epic Fury after it reflected earlier this week a total of 18 following the deaths of 3 U.S. service members in Iranian attacks in Jordan and a 4th killed last weekend in Iraq during a controlled detonation of an Iranian drone. Now, the total wounded in action also did not appear to reflect an earlier posted total. Now, the New York Times reported Thursday that a reason from the administration was because the deaths occurred after the declared ceasefire, citing 3 military officials in reporting. Now, the Pentagon is rejecting the New York Times reporting, accusing the outlet of, quote, manufacturing lies. In a statement on X that the department directed us to, Pentagon official Sean Parnell attributed the site error to a temporary data disruption and that the Pentagon was working to resolve it, he wrote. In his post, he quotes the Pentagon's press secretary stating, quote, these site anomalies are currently being resolved in coordination with the military services. The department attempted to explain the anomalies to the New York Times ahead of publication, but given their lack of knowledge in this area, they proceeded to write a non-story that will be fixed imminently. We remain committed to ensuring the utmost accuracy of all casualty reporting. Now, earlier this week, Parnell also shared on X nearly 100 service members had been injured over the past 2 weeks, with the majority returned to duty. Now, this all comes, Dell, as the department has faced scrutiny around transparency in casualty reporting. A congressional aide additionally tells Scripps News that Ranking Member Adam Smith, the top Democrat on the House Armed Services Committee, which oversees the Pentagon, is aware of the Times reporting. Committee Democrats have submitted a formal request for information, Dell.
Our senior White House correspondent Haley Bull for us live on the North Lawn. Haley, thank you very much.
Connor, good advice. Thank you. At 6:45, the fighting between the U.S. and Iran may have slowed down over the weekend, but the tensions are unfortunately far from over. New questions are emerging after Iran accused Ukraine of a deadly strike, while the number of U.S. troops that were injured continue to rise. With perspective and insight on this, I want to go to our chief Washington correspondent, Joe St. George, live with us this morning. Joe, not an easy topic to talk about, but can you fill us in on where the conflict stands and what this means for us here at home? You know how big our community, military community is here.
Oh my gosh, especially, right? And I think one important military story that is on the minds of a lot of the military families in Hampton Roads is the number of injured. The database made by the Pentagon, produced by the Pentagon, had a big update over the weekend. We've known at least 18 service members have given the ultimate sacrificing, losing their life in the conflict in recent weeks and months. But the number of injured has now surpassed 600, a major spike from where we thought the number of injuries were last week. That gives you a sense of the human cost of this conflict as more and more focus is paid on the cost of the conflict to taxpayers. Where I'm at on Capitol Hill, the big topic of the fall is going to be how much more money to give the Pentagon for the conflict in the Middle East. Additionally, national average for a gallon of gasoline, $4, a little bit higher than $4.10 a gallon right now. As you mentioned, it was a quieter weekend between the U.S. and Iran after nearly 2 weeks of exchanging strikes and fighting, airstrikes. There was a pause over the weekend. The Trump administration saying over the weekend that was to allow for a diplomatic opportunity for conversations to take place behind the scenes. That doesn't mean it was necessarily a completely quiet weekend. Iran accusing Ukraine of attacking one of their commercial vessels. This is threatening to combine two of the world's great conflicts right now, Ukraine and Iran. President Zelensky of Ukraine will be in Washington this week for Senator Lindsey Graham's funeral. Tomorrow, we're expecting President Trump and Zelensky to meet while he is here in Washington. Abbas Araji, who is Iran's foreign minister, writing on the social media site X, and I'm quoting him now, Zelensky has attacked an Iranian commercial vessel, killing a sailor, a blatant UN charter violation, adding that it cannot go unanswered. Ukraine has long accused Iran of helping Russia fight that conflict in Eastern Europe. So a lot to watch for and follow, Aaron, on a busy Monday morning. We say it a lot, right? We've been saying a lot that this is a precarious moment or an important moment. It is. It's an important moment because on one hand, the Trump administration is pursuing diplomacy, but on the other, you have the chance of escalation.
And that's something that all of us need to care about here at home. So we appreciate your insight and perspective on, yes, what is another busy Monday. Joe St. George live in Washington.
I've seen this industry for decades, and I've tried a lot of food supplements over the years. Momentous is the one that earned my trust because they always lead with transparency and quality.